Today on Sports Central, we go over our next team prediction of this offseason, and it's going to be over the NC State Wolfpack, a team that was 8-4 overall in the 2020 season. And this was an NC State team that I would say was pretty underrated last season. Obviously, at 8-4, this team was kind of in the background of the ACC all season, kind of overshadowed by Clemson and Notre Dame. But this team was also a pretty good team in the ACC last season, and I think this team does have some good potential going into next season. And why that is what we'll be going over here today. We're going to get started with NC State's final prediction. We'll be looking at your season trends from last season to get things started here today, looking at where NC State is going as we head into 2021. Once again, this team was 8-4, 4-2 in their first 6 games, 4-2 in their last 6. So this team was very consistent with how they were last season. And overall, this team, once again, was very talented. I mean, they kept it very close with a lot of good teams, and they beat some good teams as well by significant margins. They beat Florida State there 30-22. That was a huge win. Also beat Liberty by 1, but Liberty was a good team last season, so I'll give them a good win there, 15-14. Beat Syracuse 36-29. Beat Georgia Tech as well. You did lose to Kentucky in your bowl game. That was a tough loss there, but it was a very close one. Once again, that was a loss by 2 in the Gator Bowl. But otherwise, once again, this team played very well last season, kept it within 3 against a Miami team that was very talented last season, 44-41. That could have been a huge win if you beat Miami there, but either way, I mean, it was still a very close game. The only bad game for this team last season was against North Carolina. I mean, this team played the Tar Heels on the road, took a loss 48-21. But this team still overall, I mean, to keep it simple, I mean, this team was still very close and got some great wins last season. That was just one bad game that they had there against North Carolina, but they also beat Duke, they beat Virginia last season, beat Pittsburgh on the road, and beat Wake Forest. So this was an NC State team that wasn't really getting much attention, but they still put up a great season. I mean, 8-4 record is a very good record. Looking at your returning production going into next season, this is really where things look interesting for this NC State team, and this is really where you can see how good this team will be next season is when you look at your roster preview here. And Bailey Hockman is transferring away. He was a quarterback for this team last season. This team actually had a few quarterbacks that played quite a bit last season. You had 3 main quarterbacks, Bailey Hockman, Devin Leary, and then Ben Finley. Devin Leary is coming back. That's going to be a huge return. He didn't play a whole lot last season, but when he did, he put up 890 yards, 8 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and also a 60% completion rate. As for Ben Finley, I mean, he didn't play a whole lot either. I mean, he was the 3rd quarterback for this team. Didn't play as well when he played for this team, but he put up 140 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks as well. Bailey Hockman, looking at him, once again, he's transferring away, so he will not be with this team, but he had the primary stats for this team. He put up the most attempts and the most yardage, put up just over 2,000 yards, 13 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. And so Devin Leary, obviously, I think probably has the most potential of any quarterback on this team right now to do well. And I think Devin Leary's definitely got potential. And once again, I mean, of course, he's dealt with a few injuries on and off. And I definitely think that he's got a ton of potential. And I think if he, I mean, of course, he had that leg injury. If he can be 100% this season, I think this NC State team will be just fine having him at the starting position. Zonovan Knight is coming back. He was their top running back last season. Put up 900 yards and 10 touchdowns as well. That's going to be a big return there. Backfield looks great for this NC State team. You also got Ricky Person Jr. coming back. He put up 770 yards. So this team, of course, has got 2 running backs from last season that put up over 1,700 yards combined. And both of them, I mean, are very good. And I think this backfield is going to be very tough to defend going into next season. So that is definitely a big factor for this team. Amezi is coming back. He was their top receiver last season, putting up just over 740 yards, 5 touchdowns as well. He's going to be a huge weapon for Devin Leary. You also got Thayer Thomas as well as Devin Carter coming back. Both of them combined for just right around 1,000 yards last season. So overall, this team looks pretty good in the receiving core, I will say. And honestly, this offense in general, I think looks very good. You also got 2 losses on the offensive line, so that's the main concern on this team. You also lose 1 defensive lineman, but defensively, this team looks very good. So I like what I see here with NC State. I think this team definitely has got potential going into next season. It's just a matter of whether or not Devin Leary can lead this team to an outstanding season. And once again, NC State, I mean, returning production-wise, looks very good going into next season. Chances of improvement in 2021 are pretty good for this team. I like NC State once again quite a bit. But is this team a dark horse in the ACC? That's a big question for this team because, I mean, of course, the ACC is a tough conference with Clemson, of course. Clemson's the main powerhouse. And next season, don't forget about North Carolina or Miami. Both of those teams will also be very good teams next season. And honestly, the Atlantic Division in general is just, I mean, Clemson has just controlled that division for so many years now, and for NC State to be able to win that division seems like an extremely rare possibility, but I definitely think for NC State, this team will be in contention to at least make it to a pretty good bowl game next year. Looking at your schedule, of course, you got South Florida there on the 2nd. That's going to be the first game of the season. South Florida was not very good last year, so you should be favored in that matchup. Mississippi State, you got them on the road. That's going to be an SEC matchup there. Interesting game there against Mississippi State on the road. Then you got Furman and then Clemson to start off your conference schedule there. So on the 25th, that's going to be a brutal matchup. You got Louisiana Tech after that, Boston College, Miami on the road, then Louisville to finish out your October. You got Florida State and Wake Forest on the road, then Syracuse and North Carolina both at home to finish out the season. Looking at September here, South Florida's going to be an easy win. Don't expect much out of them. Mississippi State, that was a tough one to predict there just because the Bulldogs are at home there in that matchup, but I'm going to give it to NC State. I think NC State comes in ready to go, and they get a big win there in Mississippi State. But it's going to be a very close one. Very good matchup as well that we'll be seeing in week 2 there. Furman, you got them on the 18th. Easy win there. Not expecting much out of Furman. Well, really, I mean, even if Furman is a good team, they're an FCS team. So you should, by all means, get a win there. Clemson then, of course. I mean, once again, Clemson, even though they don't have Trevor Lawrence anymore, they got still a great quarterback in DJ Uiagalelei. So I'm going to give Clemson a win. I mean, it could be a closer one. Who knows? NC State could pose an upset alert for that team, but I'm going to give it to Clemson. Clemson's just the better team. So you'll be 3-1 heading into your October. Looking at October there, you got Louisiana Tech, easy win. I mean, Louisiana Tech was actually pretty good last season, so that could potentially be a close win, but I'm going to make it an easy win for now. Boston College, Miami, both on the road. Boston College, don't sleep on them. I could see that team potentially being a 7-8 win team next season, so that could be a tougher game there. Phil Jurkovec and all of them are looking pretty good going to next season, so Boston College is going to be a loss, but it will be very close. Miami then, that's on the road. Miami's going to be a 10-win team next season. Derek King, like them a lot. That's going to be a loss as well, but it's going to be very close once again. Louisville, then you got them on the 30th, and that's an interesting game because you're kind of in the middle of a pretty tough stretch there. You got Boston College and Miami both on the road in the previous 2 weeks, and then you come back home and got Louisville, and Louisville next season is going to be a pretty mediocre team, as average as you can get for a college football team, so it's going to be a close one, but I think NC State does get the win. Florida State on the road. Florida State, don't sleep on them. That could be a pretty good team next season. Mackenzie Milton, of course, coming in from UCF. If he plays well, that Florida State team should be a potentially 7 or 8 win team next season. I think that'll be a loss, though. I mean, once again, very interesting stretch there. You're coming off of a tough stretch there at the end of October. Then you got Wake Forest and Syracuse, 2 pretty easy games. Wake Forest won't be very good next year. Syracuse probably won't be as well. So I'm going to give you wins against Wake Forest and Syracuse both. Then you got North Carolina to finish up the season and at home, and that's going to be a very good team next year. Sam Howell, I like that team a ton. They're 11-1 as well, so or I think they'll go 11-1. So that's going to be a tough team there to play. I think North Carolina does get the win, but NC State definitely. I mean, you're going to have to come to play in that matchup if you get the win. But either way, 7-5 is going to be a record prediction for next season. That would be a very good season if you can get up to 7-5. That puts you at a pretty good bowl game. And also, I mean, 7 wins in general is a pretty successful season. So overall, pretty good season coming up here for NC State. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this NC State team. I appreciate you guys all watching. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. I'll see you guys later.